Are the bombs about to start dropping again? There is no deal between Iran and the United States so far. J.D. Vance had just concluded a long series of negotiations, 21 hours, and J.D. Vance says that they're not close to the deal. In fact, he sounded rather tired of negotiating and like he was ready to head home, even though Pakistan is somehow arranged for a whole nother day of negotiations for Sunday. We'll have to see if the Sunday negotiations actually do take place, uh, or if there's any hope out of this. Now, what I tell you guys before is that I had suspected that all Iran was going to do ever is just bide for more time. Now you got to ask yourself, here's the deal. What really the crux of the whole thing has to do with the Iranian nuclear program. They're not even so concerned about the Strait of Hormuz. Because I'm going to show you something. Tankers are rerouting to the Gulf of America, apparently. And Trump is making some moves to clear out at least the mines from the Strait of Hormuz. So there's a couple of new developments in that area. And the main thing this whole thing hinges on is Iran's nuclear program. And what J.D. Vance said is they weren't even willing to negotiate away having the tools to make the nuclear weapons. Now, I got to ask you this. Given the threat to Iran, given that they could just be bombed essentially to smithereens, why wouldn't they agree to say, okay, we'll give this up to prevent all this carnage that you said you were going to put on us? Why wouldn't they give that up unless they actually want to make the nuclear weapons? Of course, then again, why would they enrich uranium to 60% just for fun, for giggles? No. They do seem to have some nefarious agenda in mind. And if you look at their overall religious philosophy, their whole notion that they're going to have some big Shia conquest of the world, as loony as it sounds, it kind of makes sense from their religious perspective for where they're going. So it's nuts what we're dealing with over there. These people, if you go to like Putin or Xi Jinping or even little Kim Jong-un in North Korea, these men they don't care how many of their own people they lose, but they don't want to die themselves. But in Iran, hey, they get 72 raisins or whatever it is they get when they go to their great beyond. So apparently they're okay with that. You're not negotiating or trying to rationalize with rational people. They don't think like us. And see, that's a problem in our media, in our world, in our society. We keep thinking that they think like we do. It's not even close. It is nowhere in the same ballpark. Oops, hang on. Let me put that. They're not in the same ballpark. So it's just something that we've got to put in our calculus. And typically in the Western world, we don't do that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you some things, guys. I'm going to show you that we're going to show a little bit from J.D. Vance, what he had to say. And we're going to look also, there's some big news on the Russia front. We may actually have a end of the war there in Europe. And it's got more to do with drones than anything else. Asymmetric power sometimes comes in small packages. And it looks like Ukraine's got an edge from the drones, but that's a whole nother story. Now, let's look at also the situation with China. China is suddenly putting more ships at sea than ever. Are they getting ready for something? We know they just had an exercise where they had a whole bunch of their shipping fleet just all lined up in a line, as if to simulate a blockade. Is China getting ready to pull some nefarious things? Good questions. We're going to go all into this, and we're going to keep it short tonight. We're not going to do a long video tonight because we got some big news, but we can roll this big news out real fast, and we can wrap up quicker tonight. That's what I'm intending to do. I am tired. I almost thought I wasn't going to get this video done tonight because I was so knocked out. I didn't, but I caught a second win. Oh, I was almost a zombie. All right, let's go. We're going to do some share screens here. We're going to talk about the news. And the news today is big on three fronts: Iran, China, and Russia. So hold on your britches. Where's my share screen button? I'm in the wrong place for that. Hang on, guys. Got too many screens to juggle here. All right, guys, here we go. Bing, 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 bing. And first, I'm going to show you something to help yourself and help me too. I've told you guys many times how so many of these products you're buying are nefariously contaminated with chemicals and heavy metals, glass even, and metal shards and rat and bird guano. So it's just off the charts. Here's the thing, though. These companies, guess what? The Bilderbergers are meeting. So we'll get into that a little bit, too. Hang on. Talking about the Bilderbergers. All these 550 brands are now owned by 12 different companies, over 550 different brands. And it's used to be good, a lot of these good products, good companies. But what happens is they get their formulations modified by the big company who wants to keep prices down. A lot of chemicals get into this stuff this way. And some of the chemicals aren't even listed, like with some of your dish detergents, which I covered that in a previous video. I've also talked about how a lot of your toothpaste, like Crest down here, Colgate, over 90% of your toothpaste are contaminated with heavy metals, even the children's brands. How, just a lot of these just plain soaps that you thought were good are no longer good. So, my friends, these are just things you got to take into account. But 12 companies control all these different brands here, guys. Over 550. And, I've lost. There it is. Oh, Lord, it's wanting me to verify myself. Here we go. You got three big asset management companies that dominate corporate America, including those 12 companies we just looked at. And the biggest of them is BlackRock. And BlackRock is run by Larry Fink. Larry Fink also runs the World Economic Forum. And a blood brother to the World Economic Forum, the Bilderberg Group is having an emergency meeting this week. An emergency meeting. Wonder what they're talking about. We'll go into that a little bit too. But guys, these are the guys who want you to have no privacy, own nothing, and be happy. Anytime you shop and buy products from these companies, you're supporting this stuff. And you go to the World Economic Forum website and you look in their partners sheet, you discover it's their partners that pay for the House of Klaus. And if you want to keep supporting that, if you want to keep buying all these toxic products, well, more power to you. But you know what? I've come up with a way to switch away from it. Guess what? I created this website here, and you can switch away to an American-owned company, that family-owned company at that. All the products are made here in the good old US of A, supporting American jobs. And you get non-toxic products that don't have all those chemicals. As a matter of fact, even the cleaners are plant-based, and we're not talking grains with glyphosate and junk like that. They're extensively tested for consumer safety. So that's the good news. In order to switch away from that mess to this good stuff, then just go to switchwithgreg.com. Switchwithgreg.com, fill out the form. It just goes to me and a helper who's helping me bring you guys on board. Lisa, she'll be giving you a call. So there you go. Switchwithgreg.com, fill out the form, and quit voting for the House of Klaus and buying all that toxic junk. So let's move on. We'll get into the news itself here. And here is J.D. Vance. Let's see if I can blow this up and hear what he's got to say here. This is in
well,
Islamabad.
And let me say a couple of notes of appreciation. First of all, to the Prime Minister of Pakistan and to Field Marshal Munir, who were both incredible hosts. And whatever shortcomings in the negotiation, it wasn't because of the Pakistanis who did an amazing job and really tried to help us and the Iranians bridge the gap and get to a deal. We have been at it now for 21 hours, and we've had a number of substantive discussions with the Iranians. That's the good news. The bad news is that we have not reached an agreement, and I think that's bad news for Iran much more than it's bad news for the United States of America. So we go back to the United States having not come to an agreement. We've made very clear what our red lines are, what things we're willing to accommodate them on, and what things we're not willing to accommodate them on. And we've made that as clear as we possibly could, and they have chosen not to accept our terms. Questions?
Precisely what have they rejected here? Can you help us understand it a little bit?
Well, I won't go into all the details because I don't want to negotiate in public after we negotiated for 21 hours in private. But the simple fact is that we need to see an affirmative commitment that they will not seek a nuclear weapon, and they will not seek the tools that would enable them to quickly achieve a nuclear weapon. That is the core goal of the President of the United States, and that's what we've tried to achieve through these negotiations. Again, their nuclear program, such as it is, the enrichment facilities that they had before, they've been destroyed. But the simple question is, do we see a fundamental commitment of will for the Iranians not to develop a nuclear weapon, not just now, not just 2 years from now, but for the long term? We haven't seen that yet. We hope that we will. Jen. We talked about all those issues, Jen, and we talked about a number of issues beyond that. And so certainly those things came up. But again, we just could not get to a situation where the Iranians were willing to accept our terms. I think that we were quite flexible. We were quite accommodating. The president told us, you need to come here in good faith and make your best effort to get a deal. We did that. And unfortunately, we weren't able to make any headway. Preston.
Mr. Vice President, how often did you communicate with President Trump throughout the negotiations? There were reports that there were multiple rounds, where there were breaks in between negotiations. How often did you communicate with the president throughout those rounds, and what was he saying as you were going through these negotiations that you said felt for?
Yeah, obviously we were talking to the president consistently. I don't know how many times we talked to him, a half dozen times, a dozen times over the past 21 hours. We obviously also talked to Admiral Cooper, to Pete, to Marco, to the entire national security team. We talked to Scott Bessent a number of times. So look, we were constantly in communication with the team because we were negotiating in good faith. And we leave here with a very simple proposal, a method of understanding that is our final and best offer. We'll see if the Iranians accept it. Thank you.
All right. Well, that's that. So what do y'all think about that? Hang on. We're going to go on the next little piece here. And yeah, basically this is a summary of that in a news article. So this article here is claiming that Trump must secure Iran's irreversible nuclear dismantlement. In other words, it's got to be a dismantlement that's irreversible or resume strikes, according to this article from the Washington Examiner. So this is what these guys here are maintaining. But Trump's also come out and said that U.S. forces are clearing the Strait of Hormuz. What they're talking about is the mines. I don't think there's a map here, but stop share here for just a second so you can see what I'm talking about with my hands. The Strait of Hormuz has got a real sharp crook in it, and it's got an peninsula that sticks right into it, which is half UAE and half Oman, and Iran's on the other side. So it's kind of like this. But now, and on this side that's closest to the peninsula is where roughly where Iran laid their mines. Now, Iran can't specifically locate their mines. They don't know where they are, allegedly, according to Iran. This is according to Iran. This is an excuse they give for the strait not being wide open and everybody having to come in with their tankers even closer to the shore of Iran, which also makes those tankers more susceptible to being hit by drones and other such things. If you're a little farther away, you got time to see these things coming and maybe shoot them down if you've got a military escort with you, especially the drones. The missiles would take a missile to intercept them. But the drones themselves can be shot down with air assets and other weapons. So this makes the tankers more vulnerable, and that supposedly they would have to pay the toll to Iran to come through there. So I just wanted to kind of show you this little dynamic there, and then we're going to go back into the news articles here. But yeah, I thought there was a map in that article. That is not one that had it. So I just gave you a map with my hands. Anyway, so, we can be creative here and illustrate this stuff. But now look at this, guys. Here's the other aspect. Suddenly, all the other tankers around the world are bugging over here to the Gulf of America. They're heading to Houston, basically, and maybe some places they might be able to go into in Louisiana, but mainly to Houston. So suddenly the world's tankers are rerouting. They're just forgetting about the Gulf here, and they're heading. This is the tanker traffic. They're heading to the Gulf of America. So is that interesting or what? I'm gonna look at the chat a little bit more for the morning coffee club, guys. I'm gonna focus on the news here first. We just got a little bit to go over. Suddenly, this is actually good for the United States. Suddenly, we're getting more sales of oil, more sales of petroleum. The Gulf states and everybody that uses the Persian Gulf are going to be a little bit more pain, including Iran. And so suddenly they might be putting more pressure on Iran, but it's going to hurt Iran too. So because they rely on these oil revenues. So the United States is kind of sitting pretty with this in this regard. Now something's got to be done eventually to get the fertilizer sources out, the sulfur and the liquid nitrogen gas, which is used to make ammonium fertilizers. All that still needs to come out because the world fertilizer supply is going to be in a world of hurt. Food prices are going to be going up. But this is, this is a little different wrinkle. Another thing to consider is that China is now having to buy oil at market prices. They have been buying from both Russia and from Iran sub-market priced oil because we've been buying sanctioned oil and have been getting it cheap and have been getting it that way for years. And so that's gave them a big advantage for their economy. And it turned, to compete against everybody else and put everybody else out of business. Well, now, apparently, because of their increased business prices, according to sources I hear, they're going to have to increase their prices something like 20% more. So it's just kind of like a tariff, but it's not a tariff because suddenly they're on the same level playing field as everybody else when it comes to prices of raw energy. So it's going to hit them. And the Chinese economy is suffering right now. So it's going to hit them hard. Something else is happening in China, which is not in the articles I'm going to show you today. Because China became the world's manufacturer, because they moved into it so fast, because China hasn't really paid a lot of attention to environmental and safety standards, and China, was trying to do everything cheap, trying to industrialize fast, because they had some really aggressive intentions with this. They weren't paying attention to the environmental effects. And it turns out that a lot of their nastier industries, the ones that were dumping stuff into the environment, they wouldn't put these around Beijing because people are watching around Beijing. So they put them out throughout the countryside. And now there's been hundreds and hundreds of cities that have had crazy numbers of cancer pop up. Cancer is popping up like crazy all over China, especially in these rural and smaller communities. And some of these communities are shutting them down, buying them out, plowing the houses down, and sending people to the big cities. So this is something else where China is paying dearly for their growing pains. We did this a little bit in our early days, but nothing according to the way China's just had no standards. China just don't care. I mean, look at the crap they put in the stuff they send over here. They don't care, and they don't care about their own people. None of these communist authoritarian countries care about their own people. So just something to consider for all those that think that's such a great lifestyle. But that could bite them. That could bite them hard in their uh, global play against the rest of the world, which might come important here soon. Anyway, we got Palantir and Anduril executives. Now, Palantir is not our favorite company, but Anduril is actually kind of like a SpaceX of defense industry. They're a young company. They got a young CEO, and they're very dynamic. They're coming up with a whole myriad of weapon systems that are lower cost than the big old defense industries. And so they're kind of a game changer. I've been saying we need to see something like this in the defense industry, kind of like a SpaceX. And now that we got it, Anduril, I hope other similar companies are popping up because we've been paying way too much for the weapon systems we got because the big boys have been dominating for too long. And they're really not doing that great a job and are charging us through the nose. So something needs to change. I do know that DARPA is trying to look into developing uh, cheaper weapons than the ones we've been using, and the our modifications to the Shaheed drone. What do we call that drone? The I know the name of it, it's stuck on the tip of my tongue right now. We got our own modified version of the Shaheed drone, which actually has a little more remote control capability. So slightly more advanced, but still a lot cheaper than anything else we've had in the arsenal for some time. Drones are the game changer, guys. You're going to see that one big game changer in combat. So 8 days. What they're saying here is we got 8 days of munitions for a war with China. You know, one time it was 2 weeks, so we burned a lot of that up in this Iran war. And we're trying to make stuff as we go, so that includes what we've been manufacturing in the meantime. But that is not nearly enough to have to deal with China unless you stand off and just basically barricade China at the Strait of Malacca and keep them blockaded at a larger level. That is probably about the only way we can deal with them at this point in time. That could still be effective, but that you would probably see that at a minimum if they made attacks on Taiwan. Now we've got defense treaties with with South Korea, especially Japan, and more so with Japan and also the Philippines. If they get attacked, we're going in. If they get attacked, but Japan has said, look, China, you attack Taiwan, we're going in. And Japan will do it because this is an existential threat to them if they lose those sea lanes. But anyway, so this is the article saying unusually high number of Chinese ships hit the seas as U.S. is all focused in on Iran. So what they've done is they sent 100 vessels out, whereas normally it's 50 to 60. So they've doubled their sea force all at once of sea military vehicles. And that's a big question. Oh, yeah, back here on this Palantir thing. Apparently, China makes drones. Okay, I can't sit in this article. It's not showing it now. China makes drones like 10,000 times to one against our production capacity. And, their military shipbuilding is hundreds of times to one to ours. It's over 200 times. The actual total shipbuilding capacity is over 500 times greater than ours. And they do build dual use ships. So, let's see if I can sell that. So, what is China up to with this doubling of their ship? Is it just an exercise? Are they getting ready for something bigger? Are they waiting at 2027? Or are they going to pull something sooner while we're distracted? Some people say they don't have enough landing craft to put it off just yet, but it's around the corner. I don't know. We will see. But, I wouldn't be sitting on pins and needles about this. But they're trying to lure in the opposition party in Taiwan to basically cause something to happen non-militarily. But if Taiwan merges with China, we won't go to war with it, but we're going to lose very significantly in the world of our chip sources, because just like they're holding the rare earth minerals against us, they would hold these advanced chips against us, because they would take all the intellectual property, most of which was developed here in the United States and really belongs to us, but they would claim it. And we would be in a world of hurt financially. It's said that the chips, the issue with the chips would be like 10 times worse, maybe 100 times worse than the oil situation with Strait of Hormuz. So it's going to be a game changer in the industry. Now, Tesla is trying to build a factory to make these chips, but it'll be probably 5 years before it comes online. So there you are. There's plenty to be concerned about there. Anywho, so now here's the interesting thing. I've always thought that Russia would beat Ukraine just because they have way more men, way much more money, way more resources. But Ukraine's been fighting asymmetrically, and they got an edge, and that edge is drones. Apparently, within a single, this says month, I read a week earlier, another source. Apparently, okay, this says a month. We'll go with that for now. Within a single month, Ukrainian sources took out 8,000 Russian troops with drones. They got a whole drone brigade over that just launches drones. And apparently, the Russian forces are trying to swat at them and everything else, and they just can't do it. It's just some kind of a nightmare, like mosquitoes that kill you. I mean, that's about what it's like. I don't know if y'all remember, there was a show, a demonstration show. It was actually fictional, but it was showing how drones could do facial recognition and basically go through a building and chase down individuals. It's almost like that today. The technology exists, and that's downright scary, especially if you're in a municipal area somewhere that you can be reached by these smaller drones. Now, if you're way out in the middle of nowhere, it's going to take a big drone to come get you. And that's more expensive. So you see that kind of activity more in urban areas or battlefields. But yeah, guys. So the Russians are having an extreme hard time with these drones. And apparently this is some guy trying to strike at one with it with his weapon or something, trying to swat it. I'm not going to play any of the videos associated with that because that would get me banned here on YouTube. But this is a shows the game changer nature of drone warfare. And China is the world's leading drone maker. And apparently there's drones flying over our military bases. Our military can't do anything to stop them. They can't jam them or anything else. They are military grade drones, large ones. Worse than these little skeeter drones that the Russian forces are trying to swat at. I call them skeeter drones. They're basically quadricopters. Anyway, so something to take into account. So if the war in Europe ends, that's probably a good thing, unless people are meeting their demise, and that's always a good thing if you just end the dang war. And apparently, both Russia and Ukraine are talking about it, but they're not sure. Russia might try to figure out some other way to mount an offensive, and may take more territory. So we'll have to see how that plays out. We don't know. In any event, the Bilderbergers are meeting. And this guy named Dan Dix, he's got a YouTube channel. He's been putting YouTubes out about this kind of stuff, videos, and now he's on X for years. And he's got Press for Truth is the name of his YouTube channel. I've watched him off and on for years. He's done things like go into the Masonic Temple in Washington, D.C. They didn't know he was at the time. They wouldn't let him in today. And a lot of things like that. So he's got a lot of coverage. Here's talking about some of the people at this Bilderberg meeting. This is an emergency meeting they're holding. They're holding an emergency meeting because their little world order game, I guess, is being threatened, or they're trying to figure out some other way to stage it. I don't know. They got an official agenda, but that doesn't mean that's what they really talk about, because it's all behind closed doors. And this guy and one of the guys, the only ones that's actually covering it. The interesting thing is the hotel they're meeting in is actually called the Salamander. Look at this. Salamander.
Energy crisis that looks suspiciously identical
Hang
to
on.
the recent.
Let's back this up. Let's blow this up. Look at the name of the hotel they're meeting in. Talk about a sleazy thing. Salamander. Slick, sleazy. Fits them perfectly. That's just exactly the name of the kind of hotel these people need to be meeting in. A sleazy, slimy, slick salamander. So maybe they'll have some brew with the eye of a newt in it. Oh, Lord. You can't make this stuff up. You just can't make it up. Salamander. Can you believe it?
This is Dan Dix here reporting for Press for Truth. And while the rest of the world is distracted by bread and circus headlines, the real power brokers, the ones who actually run the show, are once again locking themselves away behind closed doors, behind armed guards, and behind a total media blackout for the 2026 Bilderberg conference. There
you go, guys. Y'all need to watch this for yourself. I don't want to get in trouble with a copyright deal here. You got a certain amount of stuff you can show in here that's fair use, especially if you talk over it. Somebody got mad, why are you talking over this video? Because I don't want to get a copyright strike, But anyway, so this is an interesting activity. It's an emergency meeting. I highly encourage it. He's on X, Dan Dix, Press for Truth. He's got a YouTube channel. Check him out. He goes in a lot of detail about this meeting, the people there, including Peter Thiel, founder, one of the founders of Palantir. He's there. At least he's on the list. And there's a lot of other people there on the list, and some show it's not on the list, so they try to watch who's coming and going. And of course, he tries to run some people down to interview him. They usually won't talk to him, but you'll see a lot of that stuff. Again, he's on X, he's on YouTube. Dan Dix. Check him out. So I did mention you guys a little thing with lawns. Yeah, and I couldn't find the article. I'd accidentally closed it last live session I did. So seriously, there is a lady out there who's come up with this idea that lawns are racist. It's a white supremacist thing to have a lawn. And it's this lady right here, Libs of TikTok. And she actually says it right here. I don't make this stuff up. She's actually saying it. Lordy. So that is insanity. But I got to tell you, there's enough lawns in North America that you could feed probably the entire country off just the residential lawns alone. I've done the calculations. I've done the math. You could actually feed the United States just off the residential lawns if we put them into food. So I could actually see some other use besides just growing grass. But still, the whole supposition here is kind of hilarious. Furthermore, and the fact that people even wrap their minds around such crazy things. But that's what you get from a certain side of the spectrum. I think I posted this on Facebook, and a bunch of those people jump, "This is our life." No, they say it. Another thing I posted similar to that was I'm talking about white milk being racist. Oh, it's lies. Well, now you can watch old what's her name, senator from California saying it directly. What is her name? I'm getting brain locked now. Anyway, that crazy stuff. Funny stuff. I actually posted on Facebook. Boy, it's like I kicked a hornet nest. I do that. So hey, we're almost on the news here for tonight. I want you to see this. It's Saturday night, and I've seen this before. Interesting. Saturday night in Puerto Rico is going nuts. Why? Because the Puerto Ricans are dancing up a storm. Because what? It's Saturday night. I've seen this before. Saturday night, just more the way more than normal. So yeah, they're down there dancing up a storm. That's got to be what it is. Oh, we got a brand new one. Ain't nothing really big here in the United States. This is in what was that again? Kennerville. I don't know how to say it. Utah. It's in Utah, just north of me. Somewhere north of me. Utah's a state north of me. This is Tonopah, we've seen one there before. And Nevada, something must be going on there. Got some here on the two of them on the western edge of the Juan de Fuca plate. Alaska's got a bunch of little earthquakes. Nothing surprising with that. That's pretty typical. And actually, they do have a lot more. This is just everything more than 2.5 magnitude. If you lower it down, you're going to see a lot. Now here we got Japan 5.4, 4.3. Got a 5.0 in the northern Mariana Islands. And those are the biggest earthquakes today. Got something over here, 5.2 in Sanabang, Indonesia. Sanabang, what's a funny name? And Tembalaka, I don't know how you say, Indonesia 4.4. Yeah, and Hawaii is pretty typical to have some more earthquakes there. Anyway, that's earthquake stuff. Let's look at space news. Space weather, that is. Pardon me. No big sunspots. Amateur astronomers, and let's put this plural, astronomers, photograph Artemis. And this is from an amateur, some guy in his backyard with a telescope that knows where this thing is supposed to be, according to the orbital elements, which you can usually download to figure out where the satellite's going to be, or a space object. And they're tracking Artemis coming in. You can track the International Space Station and a lot of other satellites. I've done this. I've even tracked Mir Space Station and watched one of the Soyuz ships come dock to it. I was watching it approach as it was in the sky. That was pretty interesting time. I've seen the International Space Station fly over a zillion times. I watched Mir fly over a lot. I watched others. I used to track Hubble and a few others sometimes. So there you are. Isn't that interesting? And some people say, oh, NASA, everything. NASA hides everything. NASA. Well, guess what? You can't hide it from amateur people, amateur photographers, amateur astronomers. If you want to find out what's really going on, you got amateurs that launch satellites, folks, for you flat earthers. And I had my own amateur space program building hybrid rockets at one time to launch some altitude balloons. So anyway, guys, here we are. We got nothing really scary in the asteroid report. We still got this one coming up on the 14th. It's going to come in between us and the moon, but it's going to be 70% of the way to the moon. We got now, we know one sooner today. One's coming in. It's going to be 90% of the way toward the moon. And it's even smaller. It's only 10 meters across. Now, that one's only traveling 6.7 kilometers per second. That's a really low velocity. It's a small object. Makes me wonder if it's a rocket booster. I always wonder about that when something's coming in really slow, really close, and it's small. I always wonder when I see it. So let's look at an orbital viewer so we can see this guy. Oh, whoa, that thing actually goes out to Mars in its orbit. But it could be a booster from something that we sent to Mars. You know, we do launch things to Mars, and so this could be a upper stage of a vehicle that launched a probe to Mars. That's entirely possible. I'm not saying it is. It could be an asteroid, but I always get suspicious when they're traveling that slow and they're that small. Doesn't mean it's not a rock, but it might be a rocket instead of a rock. You know, just something to think about. All right, guys, that's the news portion of the video for tonight for our coffee club friends. I promised I'd make that part short tonight. Some nights we've gone long, so I've kept that promise. The news portion is over. Isn't that great? So I'm going to come to the chat room, see what you guys are having to say. I've been kind of monitoring on my phone just in case I was to get a super chat or something, as that always flashes with a color. I can see it, because I do like to give credit where credit's due. Sue's in the house. M. Dunham, Classy, New Days, Rick Thompson, read that Iran lost track of their mines. Yeah, they did. Their mines at sea, they didn't know where, they couldn't tell you. They said, they admitted they didn't know where they were. And so that's kind of crazy. Well, the United States is going and cleaning that up, apparently. What's your opinion on JD so far? Well, I don't know. My reservation is that JD seems to be connected to Palantir. But the things he says and the things he does generally I like. He was reported to be the guy in the administration that was holding out against going to war with Iran. For the same reason I would have. It would have been to, what part of it was, don't get involved in foreign countries, America first, that more isolationist aspect of America first. And I was favoring that myself. But also the whole idea, and from my standpoint, so we need to save our ammo for China. Now, this is part of the geopolitical game. It could take some win out of China's sales, and now they are have to pay in market prices for oil instead of SARB market prices, which is going to hit their economy. And we may have new choke points to leverage on them and less for them to leverage on us. So, that's kind of mixed. The other thing is that, Iran was down. If we were going to hit them, it's probably the best time to do it, especially if you think they were going to hit us later. So, but I kind of digressed there. I kind of went outside of what you asked me. Yeah, I do. Based on what he says and does, I think he's a good guy. He does come from a rural mountain family. He comes from Appalachia. I like that because that's my roots. I got Appalachian roots, and it's rare to see anybody reach that high in political fiefdom from Appalachia. So we'll see how that goes. But the Palantir connection with Peter Thiel is more of a Peter Thiel connection. I keep an eye on it. I keep on trust no man. I always tell you that. Don't get all your trust wrapped up in one person. There's always issues with that. Thank you for sharing my link there. New Days. Okay, Miss, is it Amy Ryan, or it may not be Amy. It's M Ryan. Okay, I got it wrong. M Ryan. This is all a lie. What part's a lie? Spit it out. What part's a lie? Yeah, I guess I asked below there, but I couldn't read your name as good because I was trying to get that off my phone. My phone, everything's really tiny, even on my computer. I'm looking at it on my computer now. It's a little hard to say, but it's really tiny on here. So, good to see Pyramid 7 in the house. Let's see here. Oh, guys, I'm getting sleepy here. I'm going to have to put her end here pretty soon. Chat's slow. We don't have a lot of people in the chat room. That's why, because I'm not, my channel is not as big as a lot of channels. I've been on here for years because I've been stumped for the last 3 years. My growth's been shut down basically by YouTube. I was growing like this, and then 3 years ago, went poof, flat. In fact, I don't get the views I used to get because people keep telling me, well, YouTube don't ever send me notifications. That's why you got to keep checking someone is live. John Cole, how you doing, Colonel Cole? Good to see you. Good to see you. Well, I do think now that we are where we're at, and that Iran is dragging their feet. They're not going to negotiate to give up the nuclear stuff. To me, that's a message they're planning to build a nuke. Eventually, they want to build a nuke, and they're developing missiles that can reach European capitals. And if they can launch a satellite, they can reach anywhere in the world, especially the EMP weapon on the satellite. But a satellite launcher is practically an intercontinental ballistic missile. And according to the Trump administration, they supposedly their intel found that indeed Iran's trying to develop an intercontinental ballistic missile. Now, if you look how fast North Korea broke out and developed just, they got over 40 warheads right now, nuclear warheads, just in no time flat. So North Korea poses a true threat to the United States. It's more than they have more missiles than we have interceptors. So, or more warheads than we have interceptors. And our interceptors, they're about 50% successful. So we need 2 for everything we're throwing at least for what we're having. Oh, we got a super chat tonight. Well, thank you, Carrie. I'm most appreciative. Thank you very much. So salute to Carrie. Good. JRGC is doomed. Yeah, most likely. And here's the thing. If they go after, I don't think they're going to go after the entire power grid. I think that's just Trump playing out of the deal. But I do see them going after a lot of key segments of it to support the Iranian military. They should target the barracks and the bunkers and motor pools and everything else the military has. Anything that's military, anything that's IRGC, anything that's the Beji's forces, they should go after all of it. Now, if they don't want to make a deal, just take that stuff out. Take it out sufficiently that the people in Iran can rise up. Then just back off and let the Iranians have it. And give them air support while they're doing it. Parachute in some small arms. That would be even better. So it's kind of the way I see it. The way I see it. Driving down the road. How you doing, Kristen? I saw the biggest missile in flight or on the side of the road. Anyway. And where'd you see it, Christine? Was this something on the side of the road, like a military base or a display? Or you see a missile flying? And where'd you see it at? You got us curious, Christine. Don't tell us you saw something. Tell us where it's at. So we're wrapping up here fast tonight. I've already been through the chat room. Already went through the news. We're in here 46 minutes. My goal is to be done in an hour and get my tail in bed. Because I got some local friends to go see tomorrow. Local friends to go see. All right. I'm not seeing a response. Well, Christine, I was hoping you'd tell us what you saw, where you saw it at. Driving down the road. Where? Okay, I'm not going to keep beating on that. So let's wrap her up fast. You know what we're going to do today? I got some eggs today. I want y'all to guess how many eggs I got today. Go. Egg guess time is on. How many eggs I get from my hens today? Colonel Cole, you're free to chime in with anything you think. What we've been talking about. How many eggs I get today? All right, folks. Is the chat room running? Y'all hear me? Okay, there we go. Now we got a guess. Good to see the guests, Carrie. Keep going. All righty. We already got a winner. Orwell, 2084 instead of 1984. Orwell got the right number. We got 7 eggs. All right, it's 7. Orwell got it. Orwell 2084. I think we're liable to be in an Orwellian world before then if we're not careful, especially these Bilderbergers meetings. Orwell got it. Man, we got some real lag going tonight or something. I don't know why it isn't. Orwell got it. All right, guys, stop guessing because the next question comes up. I don't see numbers scrolling. How many Easter eggs we get? Go for Easter eggs now. How many Easter eggs we get tonight? It can't be more than the total number of eggs. Total number of eggs is 7. So 7 or less. How many Easter eggs we get tonight? John Cole, I'll give it 24. Yeah, I think we're going to start bombing. Oh, Carrie got, nope, that's not it. Nope. All right, wait, stop. There it is. Michael Fick got it. 3. It's 3. Michael Fick got it first. Orwell guessed, but Michael Fick beat you to it. It's 3 tonight. Now, in terms of percentage, that's big. Yeah, John, I think the bombing's going to start. I think they're going to bomb the snot out of Iran starting, yeah, like you said, 24 to 48 hours. I think so. I really think so. But I think Iran now's got it coming to them. They've had every opportunity in the world. They've had every opportunity in the world. All right, it is 3. It is indeed 3. So I'm going to show them to y'all. Hang on. So the war is back on, folks. The war is back on. And I put the Easter eggs here in the corner here. We can see them all. That's the Easter eggs right here. Right here. Ding, ding, ding. You kind of see it's the bluish color tone. Now look at that egg. Really brownish, big old Dominecker hen egg. There's another one back here. Got those Domineckers laying some big eggs. Except one of them. We got one that's kind of light brown, that's small. We get some smaller light brown egg. That's a big egg too. But these dark brown ones are huge. And they always got speckles on them. They make good eggs. They're all good eggs. Every one of them. Pardon me. I am get some more water here. What am I doing with my water? There it is. Almost out. Already. Lottie, guys. All right, folks. We've been on 51 minutes. Let's try to wrap this thing up, get it over in an hour. I really want to appreciate the super chat tonight. Thank you, Carrie. And I want to appreciate you mods. And good thing we didn't have any contentious stuff in the house tonight. I wasn't going to pay attention to it tonight because I want to get wrapped up here. And I want to thank everybody for watching. Appreciate y'all being here. And with that, I'm going to say to one and all, a good night, good day wherever you are. And remember, Grand Atlanta, ho, ho, ho.